Imagine for a moment that you are standing in a lush green garden where the air is thick with the scent of damp earth and blooming flowers. You can hear the light buzz of a hummingbird as it stays perfectly still in the air right in front of your eyes. This tiny bird is a symbol of something very delicate and very precious. It represents the quiet magic of our natural world. We often feel that this magic is far away or that it belongs to someone else to protect. We look at the giant forces of the world and we feel very small. We see massive industries that seem like tall mountains that can never be moved. We tell ourselves that we are just one person with a small voice. But what if our smallness is not a weakness at all? What if the tools to change the world are already sitting right there on a shelf waiting for someone to pick them up? Many of us look at the problems of our planet and feel a deep sense of worry. We see news about the climate and we feel like we are watching a storm get closer and closer. We assume that the only way to stop a giant is to be a giant ourselves. We think we need millions of dollars or a massive army of people to make a difference. This is a very common way of thinking, but it might be wrong. When we face a huge system, we often try to fight it with loud shouts or with feelings of anger. Feelings are important because they tell us what is right and what is wrong. Feelings are the spark that starts the fire. But a fire without a stove can be hard to control. To change a system, we must understand the rules that the system lives by. Every big machine has a manual. Every big organization has a set of rules that it must follow. If you know those rules better than the people who wrote them, you gain a special kind of power. It is like finding a tiny key that can open a very heavy door. We often assume that these rules are too complicated for us to understand. We think that laws and regulations are only for experts in dark suits. But these rules are just words on paper. They are the promises that a society makes to itself. When we take the time to read those words, we find that they are not just walls. They are actually paths. There is a deep pattern in how we look at power. We tend to see power as something that belongs only to the famous or the rich. We see a large company and we see their logos and their tall buildings and we think they are invincible. But a company is not a person. A company is a legal structure built on contracts and permissions. If you take away the permissions, the structure begins to wobble. We often miss the small details because we are too focused on the big picture. We look at a huge project and we see the machines and the oil and the money. We do not see the specific line on page 191 of a dusty document. But that one line can change everything. It is a reminder that the world is built of small things. A big bridge is held up by small bolts. If you find the right bolt and you turn it, the whole bridge can be adjusted. This shows us that intelligence and patience are much stronger than simple force. It is about using your head to serve what your heart feels. When we separate our emotions from our actions, we become much more effective. We can be angry about what is happening to our forests, but we must be calm when we study the map. This brings us to a new way of looking at our own influence. We often think that we are fighting against someone. But perhaps it is better to think that we are simply holding them to their own word. We are asking the world to be what it says it is. If there is a law that says we must protect the air, then we are just the ones making sure that law is followed. This takes the weight off our shoulders. We do not have to invent a new world from scratch. We just have to make sure the current world follows its own best ideas. Think about your own life and the things that feel too big to change. Maybe it is a problem in your neighborhood or a rule at your work that feels unfair. We often walk past these things because we think we do not have the standing to speak up. We feel like we need permission to be a leader. But leadership is often just the act of looking closer than anyone else. It is the act of reading the fine print when everyone else is just looking at the headline. You do not need to be a giant to move a mountain. You just need to know where the center of gravity is. Imagine what would happen if we all started looking at the rules around us not as barriers but as tools. What if we realized that the people who seem most powerful are actually the ones who are most afraid of a single person who knows the truth? They want us to feel tired. They want us to feel that the situation is hopeless. But hope is not a feeling. Hope is a way of working. It is a way of looking at a problem and saying that there is a logical way through this. We can protect the hummingbirds and the trees by being the most organized people in the room. We can be quiet and calm and still be the most powerful force present. It is about a steady persistence. It is about showing up again and again with the same simple facts. When we do this, we inspire others to stand up too. One person with a book can lead to 10 people with a book. And 10 people can lead to an entire community that refuses to be ignored. We are living in a time where the earth is calling for us to be brave. But bravery does not always mean standing on a stage. Sometimes bravery is sitting at a desk and reading until you find the answer. It is about believing that the truth matters more than money. It is about knowing that the law should serve the living things of this world and not just the profit of a few. When we see a win, we should celebrate it not as a miracle but as a result of hard work and clear thinking. Each victory makes the next one easier because it sets a pattern. It shows the world that the giants are not as strong as they look. It shows that the magic of the earth has a voice, and that voice can be heard in a courtroom or a community meeting or a local office. We are all part of this family of living things. We are the cousins of the butterflies and the sisters of the trees. When we fight for them, we are fighting for ourselves. We are protecting the air we breathe and the water we drink. And we are doing it by using the systems that were meant to keep things in order. Do not let the scale of the world make you feel invisible. You have a mind that can solve problems and a heart that knows what is fair. When you put those two things together, you become a force that cannot be easily stopped. The future is not something that just happens to us. It is something we build with our choices and our courage. We can choose to be the ones who look closer and speak clearly. We can be the ones who find the rules that protect the beauty of our home. It is a long journey and it requires us to be patient. But the rewards are found in every breath of fresh air and every shimmer of a wing in the sun. We are not alone in this effort. There are people all over the world finding their own small keys to big doors. We are part of a growing movement of people who refuse to give up on the magic of the planet. We are learning that the most powerful thing you can do is to simply stand your ground with the truth in your hand. This is how we change the story of our world from one of loss to one of victory. It starts with one person deciding that they have seen enough and that they are ready to act with intelligence and heart. If you could find one rule in your world that is not being followed, would you have the courage to speak up and make it right?